Hello, so this is the analysis and reading of the intuitive painting that we created at the beginning of the month. This is for the month of September 2019, and the card is called Mind Your Mind. I'm just going to dive right in. So when we started, there was kind of like this swirling. When I first put the paint down, there was some swirling action, so it feels like growth and change, and we see that coming back up here. And as I was looking at all the symbolism, I had a chance to kind of sit down and do a little bit of digging into what some of the meanings and symbolic representations are and how they interact together. So I was going to go through all that, and we'll look at what it's saying about the kind of like an energetic forecast for the month of September. So I'm going to start in with these dragons right away. And I'll hold them up so maybe you can see a little bit more detail. There's one down here and kind of in the mud. As I'm looking at it, what I was feeling was the mud is like detoxing, and that's kind of coming up throughout here, this detox. So be aware that September may be a month of some detoxing, some changing, some kind of clearing out and cleansing. And then there's another dragon right here, and this one started out as just a head and grew a body, right? So the head came up right in the beginning of the painting, and then it grew a body, and as we moved the energy from the head, this yellow energy, and filled it into the body, what happened was, as I painted down here, the energy came back up and expressed out, and which came right up to this hand holding this Queen Anne's lace or wild carrot, which I'll get into in a second what that represents. But what that I'm feeling from that is we've got this dragon down here that's just a head, and then we had a dragon here that's just a head. And if we look at dragons as kind of a representation of strength and courage, but also dragons are a master of all elements. It feels very much, since this one's yellow, about our personal power, our personal will, and just that very intense, powerful energy. I also came across the word ferocity with an F, and it feels like, yeah, there's just this fierceness that many of us are really feeling like, okay, I'm ready. I'm done with these things that I'm ready to be done with, and I'm ready for to really step in and live my life the way that I want to live it. There's also this feeling of possibility with dragons and mystery and magic. So there's kind of like this activation, is what it feels like. And later in the painting, this shape came up. This is it feels like, I kept hearing beryl, which then I found out was emerald also. I'm not a crystal, like I'm not an expert on crystals. But thanks to Google, I got to learn something. And this crystal, it reminds me of the Tower card in tarot, which is about like upheaval and sudden change, awakening, breaking down, but also breakthroughs. And that's what the card ended up telling me too when I wrote the message for the card. The words that came through were that we have the power to really transform breakdowns into breakthroughs. And so emerald and beryl, it's the same thing. So I'm just going to call it emerald. Emerald is a great crystal for like detox. And one of the things that caught my eye was the phrase emotional eruptions. And that's what this feels like. And so emerald can be used to calm those emotional eruptions. If you ever get like excessively stressed out, and maybe you're not a very like volatile person, but you snap and you start cussing, or kind of have a meltdown kind of thing. That's kind of what this is depicting, is just being mindful. So the card is called Mind Your Mind. Be mindful of your thoughts and what's going on. The dragonfly too is talking about that. The dragonfly is showing up to say, pay attention to what's surfacing. Pay attention to your subconscious stuff that's coming up, that's the thoughts that are becoming things. But even before that, what's surfacing that needs to come up to be cleared. So as that's coming up, what's interesting too, if you watch the live replay or the replay of the live, after I worked on this emerald here, I was drawn to this soul back here, and I kept calling it a trapped soul. But when I was reading about emeralds, it said it's great for weary old souls and for healing burnout. And I'll hold it up so you can see it. If you didn't see it before, it's kind of like this purple. That feels to me like, yeah, it's like this weary old soul kind of coming to healing, coming out for healing. So if you're an old soul and you're like, it feels like our work is just beginning in some ways, and in some ways it feels like we've been doing so much work preparing and getting ourselves to where we want to be and all these kinds of things. But I feel like this month it's saying to kind of not to stop and not to take it easy in the sense of, and rest in the sense of like stop doing what you're doing, but live life, but really stop struggling and striving. Let go of the struggle, but hold on to the dreams and the visions. So moving up here, so when this came out, and it came up in this hand, which is very interesting. So the hand is coming out from this eye. So there's a face over here in green. Really, it's like heart-centered. There's a little bit of blue over here around the mouth area. And the mouth is interesting. Like I drew it kind of in a weird way. It's kind of extruded more than it should be. And so that's another indication of like a self-expression, this is self-expression. It's expressing, like letting out all the stuff, like saying like, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore, and I'm making this change, damn it, that kind of thing. It feels like tears turning into a fist, which felt like anger. So if some anger's coming up this month, let the anger come up. Find good ways to express that anger. Maybe I'll do a couple activities. You can use art. There's so many wonderful ways to release and express all of that stuff that's coming up. So we'll work on that this month. And the hand was kind of like this fist for a while, but once it was expressed, the Queen Anne's lace came up. And someone had mentioned too that it represents sanctuary, which is wonderful. I found that too. It also is like it's again just like some of these other things, like the mud and the emerald. It's a detoxing. It's a diuretic. It's emerald is related to like the liver functions and stuff, which that's where we hold our anger. The wild carrot is related also to the liver and kidneys, waste removal, getting out all the old stuff. Let's get rid of all this shit that we've been carrying around forever, and just release it all. It stimulates the pituitary too, so it could be related to hormones and emotions and those kind of fluctuating chemical, bringing things into chemical balance within the body too. Your mind. Your body's a chemical factory, and your mind triggers the chemicals. So being mindful of those things this month. Let's see what else. The dragonfly. The dragonfly seems to be the central character in this story, right? It's kind of rising above all of this stuff, and the dragonfly has this diamond shape, which some of them have a line across it, which is like this balance of an alchemical symbol of water and fire together kind of form this diamond shape. So there's a balance of those two seemingly opposing elements. The dragonfly itself is a multi-elemental. It's great with wind and water. It's adaptable, it moves, but it's also very, it's got these giant wings it's susceptible to winds. So that's what the card says, take care because change is in the air. So it's really being aware, paying attention, and not in a critical sense. So we want to allow the critics to come up, have their voice, but don't pay them too much heed. And really just pay attention to what's coming up. Allow your mind to dream. The dragonfly also is playful, living life to the fullest. And so visualizing yourself as revitalized. That's the word that came to me. Visualize your revitalization. And so allow yourself to this month to time to really dream. If even though it may feel like some things are like burning away or breaking down or falling apart, visualize it in this time of them falling into place and having a breakthrough and clearing out and for new space and new growth. The dragonfly's got these big old eyes. That was the first thing I saw, were these huge eyes. Visualization. Let yourself be playful and dream, and focus on the positive outcomes. Your power is in how you choose to focus on things. So focus where you want to focus. Focus on the good. I'm just looking to see what else is coming up. We've got this nice teal color here, this deep color, and then we've got, I didn't really mention over here, but down in this area, it's like rock. It's got a, the thing with the tower in tarot is it's got a shaky foundation. This tower in particular feels like it's got a solid foundation. It's growing from the earth, although it's a little slippery under this mud and stuff like that. But once the mud clears, you'll be able to see the foundation of things. You'll be able to understand. Once you kind of go through this detox process, you'll be able to get a better foothold, a better feeling of what your foundational desires and beliefs are. And then again, some more of this. It feels like that's more of this barrel, just not in a different. So what makes it the different colors is the different pressures and the different things that it goes through. So that's just some different, more like a bluish, maybe sapphire. See, so left and right, so if we look at the right side, that's going to be the more linear, practical, action-oriented side. So that's what's happening over here. And bringing some of that kind of action into the intuitive, creative side. So it feels like the same, the word discipline comes up, so it's like the same discipline or that you might approach, your daily routines, brushing your teeth every day, for example. Giving, something that you've developed a habit like that. Bringing that action into your creative, spiritual, intuitive practices. Now's a time to, when things are kind of chaos, that's what it's, like the tower, like feeling that chaos. Dragons can kind of bring some of that chaos too. Bring some of that discipline and into to kind of create more structure in your life. A daily routine, a morning, even if it's just, but make it something fun, not something you're like, oh damn, I'm going to sit down and meditate, or whatever. If you don't enjoy that, don't do things just because you're like, oh, I have to do this because I need to be disciplined. Find something that you enjoy, that you can spend 20 minutes a day. I've been doing a daily doodle. I've just been drawing and just for fun. And that's helped me kind of move through this time of kind of shifting and upheaval and change. So let's find something like that you like and do that. That's part of that kind of, I keep hearing like healing salve and sanctuary. Create your own sanctuary. Offer yourself something. Right. Yeah, so that is the painting of the month and the reading for September 2019. Another little tour. Wonderful. I hope it's a great month for you. Take care.